Last chance. You see anything over here you want to bid on? I'm going to do it too. Yeah. Dang us. Okay. Going once, going twice. I'm going to start at this end. If your phone number, the last four digits of your phone number is 3794, you are the proud owner of some new diamond wood blanks. Okay? Wood turning tool roll goes to phone number 0601. A wood burning fan. How about that? A unique wood burning fan goes to phone number 7262. The first maple baseball bat blank, say that 6 times real fast, goes to phone number 9323. And hey, I actually won something for the first time. The second maple baseball bat blank goes to me. Woohoo! First craft supplies gift certificate, phone number 6561. You're the lucky owner of that, as well as the second one. So phone number 6561 gets 2 of the craft supply gift certificates. The proud owner of 2 6-inch white grinding wheels goes to phone number 0206. We're getting into, okay, a Madrone burl block. Phone number 0900. That's me again. Yes. A walnut burl block. Phone number 0900. Woohoo! Sycamore turning block. This is huge. This is great. Phone number 3704. Okay? All right. That concludes the silent auction for tonight. So, see Kevin, and he will be more than glad to take your money if you are the proud winner of the silent auction items. And without any further ado, we are going to get started on the challenge. Now, the challenge was a true challenge this time. I don't know who these are, but this is some fine work here. Professor Bywater enlightened us with the technique to make these beaded bowls of illusion that are just phenomenal. And, you take a look at it and everything, and you think it would take a long time to do it. It takes forever. I did one. And, God, you think it's going to take a long time, but it takes forever. Especially, I learned you don't use wood I thought was dry. Went like this. Okay. Anyway, it was, so I had to cut all the beads off and then redo it. And anyway, it's a challenge, but it's phenomenal when it comes out. So anyway, whose items are these here? Mr. McReynolds, can you tell us about them?
Well, I saw Rick do his little demo over at the Independence Group and kind of got me interested in it. There we go. Kind of got me interested in it. So at the symposium, Harvey Myers was there, and I took both of his things. He had a 2-parter, and I learned a lot, and I decided I was going to make some Christmas ornaments this year. I make Christmas ornaments every year just for the family. And this is kind of what I came up with this year. Of course, it's got the 2017 with a star, and everything's indexed to 48 spaces, and 1 in walnut finials and 1 in cherry. And I've got 16 total that'll be made, so I'm getting a good start. Soon as you are Reynolds, aren't you?
Okay, so this was the demo piece that I did last month, and I think I just demoed maybe, I don't know, 10 beads for you. And so the goal was to at least get it all beaded, all indexed, and I did the entire front half of it, and now the goal is to finish it and do the exact same on the back. The interesting part of this, though, was in that article that I talked about in the magazine that Harvey Meyer had done. He had talked about a herringbone rim, and so I did the herringbone rim, and he just used a wood burn technique, and so I thought, you know what, let's go for it. So this is a carved herringbone rim, and that took me probably a day and a half just to carve, but I thought it was worth it. So anyway, if you get a chance, just look at it, and you can kind of feel the texture, and it just adds to it. But this is an index of 120, and the neat thing about 120, I didn't really talk about this last month, but you can index 96, 120, 144. The nice thing about 120 is that 5 goes into it, 4 goes into it. Certain numbers will go into 120, and if you want to do 5, which is an odd number, then do 120.
Let me add something real quickly, Rick.
Yeah.
I took a look at Harvey's, okay, he has an article that was in January 16.
2016, yep.
American Woodworker. Also, he did a demo that's on YouTube that's at Rocky Mountain Woodturners. Anyway, he talked about this herringbone rim and how difficult it is to do that. Just wood burning it in.
Yeah.
Carving it like that is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's you have to do the high-speed diamond cutters because you don't want to take away a lot of wood. But yeah, first you have to burn it. You have to burn the entire rim, and then go back and then start taking away wood.
That's phenomenal. Congratulations. That's beautiful. Okay. I'll jump in here since I got the microphone to show you what I did. Okay. I started off with what we have over here, or what I brought in as a show and tell item, a piece of kiln-dried cherry. I made a little 7-inch plate, and I was going to just kind of went on autopilot and everything. I was turning that. Well, the thing is, I went on autopilot. I turned it too thin. I looked at it and think, there's about 1/8 of an inch there, so that's not going to work. Anyway, after watching this demo by Harvey Meyer, he said that he loves turning Bradford pear. Well, I have a couple of big bowl blanks of Bradford pear that came out of our backyard that I just went ahead and cored one. It was actually about 14 inches, and this is what started out about that big. Anyway, what I found was I thought it was completely dry. It wasn't. By the time I got the outside done and everything, it was going like this on the lathe. So you can't bead anything like that. So I had to cut them all off, start over again, and then after I dried it out, there's a couple of knots in here, and there's some coloring in the wood. I was actually going to cut that off, but I didn't do it. Anyway, interesting. I thought it would be a lot easier to cut the beads on the outside than the inside. For me, it's just the opposite. I mean, I struggled with how to get these beads evenly on the outside. Inside was a piece of cake. Maybe that's because I did the outside first. But anyway, I don't have an indexer or a wood burner, but maybe I can borrow one or something. But I can make an indexer. Okay, I got it right here. I'm going to show you.
That's it right there. So
How the hell is that going to look? How small that is.
Well, how many?
120. Oh, there's 30 and 120.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to do it that detailed. You don't have to do it that detailed if you don't want. You could do 96, and you might want to try 96 first. and so they're going to be a little bit bigger spacing.
Okay.
But what you would do is you would then glue this onto a hardboard.
Yeah.
And then drill your hole so that it fits right on the lathe, and then tighten your chuck on it,
Yeah.
screw it right on there, and this is on your chuck,
Yeah. So it's all one piece.
all one piece, and then you can just start indexing it and moving it and drawing your lines.
Okay. What I was going to do was, okay, I actually made a stand, you know, that I was going to put a piece of flooring on the top of my bed
Yep.
the bedways, and then pencil exactly at the center mark. I can move around. Can I go around the whole thing and then move it? And
Well, you saw how I did it, and I had a platform.
Yeah.
And so I actually cut the shape
for the bowl.
through the plywood for the bowl, so that I was able to then take the pencil and mark it this way, and then go around this side and do
Okay.
that side. So you can mark both
Okay.
sides at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best way. Don't do that pencil thing.
Okay.
Well, when you're doing a big bowl, you can't. The pencil doesn't.
Well, I went to the website and everything, and I got this, and I thought, well, maybe I got to go to Kinko's or something and blow it up and everything, so it's bigger, because I mean, that's really pretty small. Anyway, I selected 120 because it is divisible by, you know.
Or if you want, try 96. 96
Okay.
would be a good one for that size.
Okay. Anyway, I learned an awful lot about doing this. I don't know if I'll ever do another one, but it really is interesting. So that's my story.
I was rather pleased with how this turned out, considering I don't have a beating tool or a burning tool. But if you lay a parting tool the wrong way and use a solder gun, you can get close.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt one more time here. There's an extra bag of top blanks that appeared on the table here. Who brought those in? Oh, okay. That's where they came from. Great. Jerry had the other one, and he didn't know where the second bag came from. I told Jerry, I said, I thought those were yours. So anyway, there you go. Thanks.
Well, I didn't want to do the beading, except there is a few beads on the bottom. But I went for the color. And so this is cherry with a red dye over it. And then while I was turning it, I think I'm going to start doing what Kevin does. I'm going to use a glue block and a faceplate, because I was working on the inside, and cherry popped off. The dovetail popped off the back of the bowl, so that's why the inside is not as smooth as I want it, or as thin as I want it, because I got a little bit of a catch in it. But it still turned out pretty good. It didn't damage anything when it came off. So, but I like the way it looks. It really looks sharp with that red dye on it.
Is that the Hanlon dye?
It's water-based. That seemed to work the best for me instead of the alcohol-based. Because this piece is not segmented. Everything else is segmented except for the bottom. I tried to segment the bottom, but I had a hole. I couldn't quite, and I wasn't sure whether, okay, do I drill out the center and put in a little plug, or just use a solid base. So I decided so I turned off the segmented piece and then added the solid wood base to it. Yes.
How many layers of dye did you put on there?
3.
Did you put a sealer on underneath?
Nope. Well, it's blotchy because of the grain.
Well, I tried to figure out how to do this without going broke, and with all the jigs and everything else that everybody wanted, and wheels and all that. And then finally, I figured out the whole thing after I downloaded that polar graph and everything like that. I just took a 90-degree L and sat there and held it with my finger and ran it across the banjo. And that's how I indexed it. And then I went into doing all this, and of course a hole fell out, so I had to do this. And then my daughter, who's a chef, immediately grabbed him and said, great, you just made a couple of charcuterie platters. Don't ask me what, but it's some kind of a serving platter, so I guess they already have a use. How's that? Oh!
This one is Cocobolo, and I actually made this quite a while ago. I didn't have a bead making tool, so I just had to do it. And it's what I was starting to do at the time. This has a rocker bottom on it. It doesn't have a solid bottom. And this is the same way. But on this one, it's lignum. And I didn't have an indexer, so I don't have any stripes on it. I don't have any radial lines. But cut them with a little gouge. This top is a palm tree seed. They what? Yeah, these come threaded if you buy them that way. Yeah, but they're fun to turn. You know, anybody's turned Togwa nut has turned the same thing. You turn it. You know, you go too fast, they shatter. But these come as a cup. In other words, one side is already open. There was never anything here, and so it's a cup. But on the other side, you always have this little hole. And it when you find the nut in the first place, you know, it's black on the outside. This looks like the bottom of an apple. It's an indention, and so if you had the little feather thingies coming out, that's what it would look like. Can't see it. There we go. And so, you know, they're fun. The very tip of it's still got a little bit of the black on it. I don't know if you can see it or not. No. Never mind. That's all.
I had some walnut that I bought at Doc's auction, and so I recut it and put black dyed veneer and maple veneer and turned these. I enjoyed it, and I think they turned out pretty cool.
I found some small pieces of like 3/4 inch material back in the shop and cut some small plates and put some beads on them. There was no way I was going to index them. That just looked hard.
I wasn't here for the demo and didn't have the indexing tool or the beading tool or the indexing tool. So this was cut from mimosa, which was too wet and had to be cut again, and all done with a spindle gouge. And the lid does come off, but you have to pull really hard.
9883. Wait a minute. I got, no, I don't have it up right. Let me see that tape. 9638. I'll turn it over to somebody else to win. 9638.
9638.
That's me. Somebody would have had it.
Show and tell. Who brought a show and tell item besides me? Come on up here. I'm going to go first.
No, you aren't. I don't think we should put it on black. How's that? Who? Well, you see, it looks like a planet. That's why it's spinning. Okay. This is ash, but they call it olive ash, not because it's actually a different tree, but because it's got that funny grain to it. Maybe, but it was a long time ago. Okay. This is Saturn box, and it's made out of cocobolo and brass. The only thing that's exciting about it is I did a demo at the SWAT meet in Texas, and wore my sandals, and brass is pretty exciting when you turn that. And I mean, I bought a 2-foot long, 3-inch diameter piece of brass, and then I sliced them and just cut it. And I just cut it normally. I didn't do anything special to it. Just used my regular tools, and probably it would be a good idea to put something on it that would keep it from tarnishing. I don't know what it would be. And it's the other thing that's interesting, you notice it's not spherical. And it's not spherical because I hadn't figured out yet that you have to take material out for this stuff, and then there's a couple other problems, but later on I started doing that, and that's interesting. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, I have been pretty boring. Been in the baby rattle business here for about the last month or two. Nieces and nephews, everybody, I don't know if something's in the water. Everyone's having babies in our family. So anyway, been making baby rattles. And like I say, you can't make, just one for that because, like my daughters will take them to a baby shower and there'll be 3 or 4 other people that see them. Oh, I want one of those. What do I have to do to get one? Anyway, so I've been doing the regular captive rings, on 6-inch block of maple. And those have been going over good, but I thought I wanted to do something different. I went over to visit Sean, this was, several weeks ago, and he had one that he made some time ago for his grandson that was just a ring that had, 1 bead on it. I thought, I've looked through Pinterest and everything else for baby rattles. I'd not seen anything that really excited me. This was a great idea. So anyway, I've made like a dozen of them, and this is just 3 that I just grabbed on my way out the door tonight. But just different beads and real simple and easy to make. So that's what I been doing for the last couple months. Anyway, this was going to be my challenge bowl. Okay, it like I say, I got turning on it and everything, and realized that. That's, like 1/8 of an inch thick, and I can't be putting, beads on that. So anyway, I just made a little plate out of it. So kind of boring, but that's what I did. So next, there you go, Chuck.
Well, this I happened to see on Carl Jacobson's website, and it's a card holder. And I found at craft shows, especially the outdoor ones, this works exceptionally well about holding your cards and not having to go pick them up. Okay.
What'd you cut the rings with?
You do that with a coping saw,
Coping saw?
but you turn the lathe in reverse in order to bring it down in.
Turn the blade around under your coping saw.
No, because it's easier to hold it this way than it is to have it yank it the other way.
I've been playing with spheres lately, and this is ash with a ginkgo leaf. I've been playing with spheres. This is ash with a ginkgo leaf pattern on it. So.
So I've been doing some polyester resin work. I was fascinated by Tony's demo, and since I like walnut so much, I took some walnut off the floor and I put it in a tub, and put it in a container and poured polyester resin in there and let it sit for a couple days, and popped it out, put it on the lathe, and turned it. And this particular polyester resin, it gets real hard. I mean, really hard, and it's chippy when you turn it. It's chippy, and you got to turn it fast. As I've learned, you have to turn it fast and with really sharp tools. Now, the white in there is, I think, the cream that I tried to polish it with. I'm going to pick it up, Jack. Sorry. But you can see the light through it. It just turned out really cool, and so I'm going to do some more of that. And then my wife and I were in Excelsior Springs a few months ago. And the guy at a junk store had a whole bunch of these, and I bought 4 or 5 of them, took them home, and they're bud vases. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. But what can I do to, kind of enhance it? And Mr. Burke had some of the Spectraply plywood, that's what I call it. And I got some from him, and I just hollowed it out, turned it. There you go. And that's it. Yes. Well, I put this inside a container. I put the chips in the container, in a round container a little bit bigger than what this is, and then I poured the polyester resin in it. The second one I did with colored pencils, shavings, I learned this has a lot of voids in it. So when I did that one, I mixed the shavings in with the polyester resin and then put them in, and then poured a little liquid and did it a little bit at a time rather than just having a whole mass of shavings and then pouring the resin in, because I think it made too many voids. No, it's polyester resin by Casting Craft, and I've bought 2 gallons of it. It's $90 a gallon, so it's not cheap. I was up at Urban Lumber this last Friday, and he uses Bondo with India ink to put in surface cracks in the tabletops that he's making. Now, I don't know if I want to turn Bondo, but I might try it because it's a lot cheaper. Yeah. For the polyester resin, I have to check them out.
I had some ebony at home, and I'd been wanting to do some ebony with hedge, and so I used that, and the yo-yo works better than any I made because of the weight, I think, and they work real good. I made a few tops for the grandkids, So when you get a bunch of grandkids like I got, it never stops. You can make all the toys you want. Thanks.
This was supposed to be for last month when we did the layers, because I've got some layers right here, which are holly, Brazilian rosewood, holly, and then the rim is Brazilian rosewood. But basically, it's the same kind of deal that Mike talked about. This is epoxy, and basically what I did is I used Tupperware as my molds. So I used Norfolk Island pine chips and then walnut chips. And so the light is the Norfolk Island pine, and the you can see some really cool walnut chips in there too, like this one right there, nice big one. Anyway, you know the chips that you turn and they're all over your floor, shavings. They're shavings, and so basically, so I did a big Tupperware mold, threw the chips in there, pushed down another Tupperware, a smaller one, and then I just poured the epoxy in there. And yeah, there was. I had to do 2 pours, which you can kind of tell because I added some black on the upper part. But what's cool about this one, and I don't know if you can see it. Can you see through the? I mean, when you hold it up to the light, you can really see right through it. I just didn't get it thin enough on the bottom. What happened to me was I used craft coat that I bought at an estate sale for $3. Okay, and I figure if you buy cheap resin, then you can experiment, and if it goes south on you, it doesn't matter. Versus the expensive stuff, then then it's a little riskier. But anyway, this was a fun experiment for me. But the fun part about it was going over to Kevin's and doing the rim. Now, this is Brazilian rosewood, and it's segmented. It's the first segmented rim I've ever done. And I bought Kevin's app, and my app is right on my phone. And I think we ended up doing 12 segments. Kevin helped me cut them out, and it's 11.25 degrees per segment. And then he actually even let me use some of his holly, which he thought would be a good accent for the dark and the light and then the dark. And so it turned out cool. I was real pleased. Now I did do a super glue finish on the outside, and I didn't do anything on the inside. The one problem that I had with my craft coat is it was really old, and so after I poured it and I put on a dovetail spigot, mine never got hard. Mine got rubbery, and so mine actually was going to break. And so the only thing that I could do, I turned the outside, but I needed to hollow out the inside. So the only way I could do this was with a vacuum chuck. So I put it in a vacuum chuck and then hollowed out the whole bowl. And the problem with a vacuum chuck is you don't know how thick you are, because you can't use your fingers. You have to pull it off, and then there's a chance you can't get it back on right. So I think the way to do it is, Hans, what's the guy's name? The cowboy hat dude. He uses a light in his vacuum chuck, and that way, when he hollows out his bowl, light shines through there, and he can gauge how thin he is with his cowboy hats, and I could probably gauge how thin I was with my bowl. So that would be the one thing I would change. Well, you can. If you make homemade vacuum chucks, your vacuum chuck is probably going to be about this deep. And, in fact, I'm making a new one out of this. You see all this road construction going on, and you got these big, huge PVC pipes that are like bluish green, and they're about this big. I grabbed one of those. and it was just it was an extra piece that was it was a cutoff. But when I saw that, I went, that is going to be a great vacuum chuck because it's solid. You know, it's not going to move on me. So anyway, I know it. That's the big thing you have to be careful with. Well, no, you can run the cord all the way through. Okay. Run the cord all the way through your lathe, and then have your light on that side. And that's exactly how. Vacuum hose? Yeah. No, I don't have a hose. Mine's all screwed right on to. Yeah. You have a one-way. You don't need any kind of a bar or anything.
But where's the wire come through that you plug in to turn on?
Yeah, it'll go through it. Okay. It'll go right through it. And you'll have a ball bearing set up there. And
that's a great idea, though, because I struggle with that too. You know, how in the world can you tell how thick you are?
Well, I learned that from that guy Hannes Mickelson.
Yeah.
That might be a way to do it.
I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is what we call at our house a dragon round. And this started out as a project in the last century with the Woodturners. We had a challenge. They gave us a piece of wood, or everybody got a piece of wood. You had to make something out of it. And I made what you call a little flower stand for the house. My wife always has stuff on, flowers going. So I made a small one. And it was started to be used for everything but a flower stand. So they started calling it a drag around, and the kids and stuff would use it by their chair or whatever. So that grew into this type of thing, where we call them a drag around. So everybody had their own drag around. So it got it to be a major job to make all these things. But over the years, all the stuff we made at the club has been a lot of stuff. But this has been the most used that we have that we've ever made for the family and for the other people. But we call them drag-arounds because if you're playing cards, you have your own little table. You can put it on there. You can use it for so many things that it got to be quite popular. So it took up a lot of time, and it made a lot of Christmas presents and all that sort of stuff. It's a lot easier than shopping. So.
I ain't got anything else, folks. That concludes our meeting for this evening. Don't forget, we've got the annual election at our next meeting. So thoughtfully consider your contributing to the club and participating on the board. And we're going to travel safe, and we will see you. I think it's November 6th, I think is. Anyway, second Monday in November. Okay? Great.